Breaking news tonight, the nationwide arrests of rioters who stormed the Capitol. The dramatic new video as the violence broke out. The man carrying the lectern and the rioter with the horns, both charged. The West Virginia lawmaker arrested in front of his grandmother. And this man, a former Air Force lieutenant colonel. Silenced. Twitter bans the president for life. His futile attempts to get his message out through other accounts as his allies blast the decision as dangerous censorship. The new plan to impeach the president again. The first step could come as early as Monday.
Sadly, the person who's running the executive branch is a deranged, unhinged, dangerous president.
Tragedy in the air. More than 60 people presumed dead after a Boeing 737 goes down off the coast of Indonesia. The investigation into what may have brought it down. Release all the vaccine. Joe Biden's new plan to get it all out as soon as he takes office, and why Dr. Fauci opposes the idea. The anger over people traveling to other states to get vaccinated.
I haven't been in this for 40 years to lose him now to somebody from out of state that took his vaccine.
Should it be for residents only? And this as the Queen of England takes her shot.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. The country remains in shock after the attack on the Capitol building this week that left 5 dead. And the more we learn about it, such as this terrifying new video, the harder it is to shake. Today, the effort to punish those involved led to arrests across the country, including some of the most brazen rioters. But Democrats and a handful of Republicans believe the punishment should extend further. They are now set to begin the process of impeaching the president for an unprecedented second time. We have it all covered, beginning with Tom Costello in Washington, and a warning, some of the video is graphic.
Tonight, new video showing Wednesday's all-out assault on the Capitol. Officers in riot gear trying to hold off attackers. A D.C. police officer with blood on his teeth, screaming as he's crushed between the mob, a door, and riot shields. That officer injured but survived.
We want Trump! We want Trump!
And more scenes from this video shot inside the Capitol. An officer trying to protect the Speaker's lobby.
There's a gun! There's a gun!
Points his gun at attackers trying to break through, then fires. QAnon and Trump supporter Ashley Babbitt falls to the ground, fatally wounded. Tonight, news of even more arrests. Adam Johnson, photographed carting away Speaker Pelosi's lectern, arrested by U.S. Marshals in Florida. Jake Angeli, the QAnon activist with horns and body paint, arrested in Phoenix. Former Republican Hawaiian State House candidate and Proud Boys leader Nick Oakes. 41-year-old Doug Jensen arrested in Des Moines, seen chasing a lone Capitol police officer up the stairs. West Virginia lawmaker Derek Evans live-streamed his participation.
We're in!
Arrested at his grandmother's home.
He's a fine man. And thank you, Mr. Trump, for invoking a riot at the White House.
Today, Evans resigned. Richard Barnett, photographed in Speaker Pelosi's office, arrested in Arkansas. Many rioters were seen wearing anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi apparel, including this man with a Camp Auschwitz T-shirt. Veteran counterterrorism agents are very concerned that many rioters demonstrated police or military tactical expertise, wearing helmets and body armor, some carrying zip ties, often used as handcuffs.
Perhaps there were plans to kidnap and hold hostage and or hold for some kind of trial members of Congress that disagreed with their position.
Retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Larry Rendell Brock of Texas, an Air Force Academy grad, photographed with zip ties, tactical gear, and white supremacist patches on the Senate floor. He confirmed his identity to the New Yorker magazine, saying the president asked for his supporters to be there to attend. Today, fired by his employer. Meanwhile, police departments are investigating their own officers who were in D.C. on Wednesday. Former FBI counterterrorism director Frank Figliuzzi.
I'd like to be able to say that we have neutralized this threat and brought it to a halt, but the reality is this threat will continue, and we've merely pressed the pause button on this.
And Tom joins us now from Capitol Hill. Tom, remind our viewers what charges these rioters are facing.
Election interference, obstruction of Congress, sedition, insurrection, conspiracy. There's a real concern here that this isn't just a riot that got out of control with 5 people dead. This is an ongoing plot. Jose.
Tom Costello in Washington, thank you. For 4 years, we've often had to report on what the president has tweeted. More than 26,000 since taking office. But today, there were no tweets, and there never will be again. Twitter has banned the president for life. Jolene Kent has the latest.
Tonight, a deafening silence from the president's Twitter account in his waning days as commander-in-chief. Twitter, run by CEO Jack Dorsey, saying after close review of the president's recent tweets, it banned him due to the risk of further incitement of violence. Twitter specifically warning, quote, plans for future armed protests have already begun proliferating on and off Twitter, including a proposed secondary attack on the U.S. Capitol and state Capitol buildings on January 17th. After the ban, the president tried to tweet from other campaign and staff accounts, triggering a game of whack-a-mole, with Twitter quickly taking down his posts. Many platforms have banned or restricted the president's accounts, including Facebook and Instagram, where he's blocked indefinitely and for at least the next 2 weeks.
It's a sad day when big tech has more power than big government, that they can censor the president of the United States.
Because Twitter is a private company, experts say the removal of the president for violating their rules is not a violation of the First Amendment.
Twitter is absolutely allowed to silence the president, as is any other social media platform that can make their own rules. Whether it's silencing him, of course it's not. He could call a press conference.
The ban, which many argue came too late, was also instigated in part by Twitter staffers pressuring executives to delete the president's account. One employee telling NBC News, "A lot of us are so happy and so proud to work for a company that did the right thing."
How big of a difference does all of this make to stopping or at least reducing the disinformation pipeline, all of the conspiracy theories and false information that's out there?
It doesn't really do much to take away that pipeline. What it does do is take away, a voice, at least on these platforms, to one of the most important voices of disinformation, which was the president.
And Joe joins us now. Joe, is there another social media app the president could jump to?
Yes, some of President Trump's allies say they are ditching Twitter and they're heading to smaller social networks like Parler, which is popular with right-wing extremists. But Google already making that a lot harder, suspending Parler from their app store, one of the largest in the world, until they address, quote, ongoing and urgent public safety threats. Jose?
Jolene Kent in Los Angeles, thank you. With the president's voice silenced on social media, calls for his impeachment are growing, with even more members of Congress signing on. The process could begin within days. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House.
President Trump's power and time in office both diminished. But House Democrats are emboldened, prepared to impeach him a second time, a first in U.S. history.
This is not an ordinary circumstance. This is an extraordinary circumstance. Insurrection, sedition, an attempted coup d'etat on the United States Capitol is extraordinary, and so it requires extraordinary measures.
Officials say at least 180 members of Congress signed on to this article of impeachment that accuses President Trump of incitement of insurrection, claiming that he willfully made statements that encouraged and foreseeably resulted in imminent lawless action at the Capitol.
We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Deranged, unhinged, dangerous president of the United States.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says Mr. Trump should resign or be removed in an interview with 60 Minutes.
That there should be prosecution against him.
Many lawmakers also want a Trump ban, disqualification to hold future office. But some Republicans call impeachment vindictive.
The president used poor judgment on Wednesday, but he never told the crowd to do what they did.
In a memo, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell lays out the tight timeline. Under Senate rules, the earliest a trial could begin is January 19th. Friday, Joe Biden expressed concern the Senate could be consumed with impeachment as his presidency begins.
When Kamala and I are sworn in, we're going to be introducing immediately significant pieces of legislation.
So, Kelly, what are the next steps for Democrats?
Well, we'll look for that on Monday. That will be step one when they introduce the resolution of impeachment. But the timing on when votes will happen remains unclear. And tonight, 7 Republicans in the House have written directly to Joe Biden, urging him to formally request Speaker Pelosi not go forward with impeachment. They claim it's unnecessary and inflammatory.